Hi, everyone. I'm Sandra Levy. I'm Senior Editor of DSN. And today we're speaking with Samantha Picking. She's Senior Director of Immunizations at Walgreens. Hi, Samantha. Thanks for joining us again.
Hi, Sandra. Thank you so much for having me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm excited to speak with you about an important topic. So let's get started. Kids have recently gone back to school, and holiday gatherings are around the corner, and they're at all kinds of sports events. Which immunizations do kids and teens need now as they're back in school and gathering?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it is a busy time of year. Kids are back in school. I know this myself. I have three little ones. So I have one in preschool, kindergarten, and second grade. So lots of prep goes into going back to school. Now, the first things to think about is those seasonal vaccinations. So that would be flu and COVID vaccines as respiratory season starts to ramp up. And we know that typically happens around October, November, but it can be unpredictable. So I think the biggest thing is one, making sure we're getting those seasonal vaccines for our kids, teens as they head back to school. Lots of viruses circulating once everyone is in those settings and also playing sports. So we'll start to see sick season upon us in the coming months. The other thing is, and what's so convenient about getting vaccinations at Walgreens is you can ask the pharmacist what other vaccinations your specific child or teenager may need this time of year. It could be that they need to catch up on their routine schedule. It could be those seasonal vaccines. It could be that they have an additional health conditions that put them at high risk, and maybe they need a vaccination like pneumonia or something else. So my biggest advice is one, find the time to get those vaccines this time of year. You want to ensure that you're protected at least 2 weeks ahead of any important gathering because it does take about that time to build up immunity. And then when you do go to get your vaccinations, ask your pharmacist what vaccinations your child and also yourself you may be eligible for, and you can actually get them all at the same time.
Excellent. So, how do families separate fact from fiction? There's a lot of myths and misinformation going around, and it puts families at risk. What's your advice?
You're right. There are a lot of common misconceptions. Now, there's a lot of them going around now, but also something we've seen before. It's nothing new. And these are typical things like patients may be worried about the side effects from the flu or the flu vaccine causes the flu. Now, these misconceptions usually delay or deter eligible patients from getting vaccinated, which is the concern. And it's always troubling. As we know, vaccines are the most safe and effective option to prevent illness, especially vaccine preventable illnesses, as we know. So, what we do know is that decades of evidence show that vaccines work and they are playing a vital role in keeping people healthy. Now, this is where our pharmacy teams can play a big role. As pharmacists, we're not just administering vaccines, we're listening to patients, we're addressing concerns, and providing evidence based guidance every day. Now, at Walgreens, we're committed to being that most convenient option. So, again, what I do say is if you have any concerns, if you feel like you are hearing things in the social media or the news that you're just not sure about, ask your pharmacist. It's convenient. You can walk in anytime. Again, we're open nights and weekends, so it might be outside of work hours or school hours. If you have a question and want to talk to someone, my biggest thing is don't be afraid to ask if you do have a concern because pharmacists get vaccination training and are up to date on the latest recommendations every single year, and we're constantly communicating with them. So know that you can ask your pharmacist anytime.
Excellent. So, you touched upon it a little bit in the previous question. What do you say is the most important role vaccines play in preventing illness and school absences?
Yeah, it's a huge part about of preventing illnesses. Now, like I said, it's a busy time of year, and based on my experience as a pharmacist, a mom, and all of the scientific data available currently, we know that vaccines are the most safe and effective way to prevent highly contagious illnesses like flu, RSV, pneumonia, COVID, the ones that will really start to circulate during respiratory season. So, getting the recommended vaccines reduces severity of symptoms and lowers risk of hospitalization, but also hopefully keeps kids healthy and in school. Now, according to the CDC, last year, only 49% of children actually received the flu vaccination, which was down from the year prior. So that is a concerning statistic. Well, it's too early to tell what this season will bring. What we do know is that every year, common viruses like flu and pneumonia cause hundreds of thousands of hospitalizations and thousands of deaths. So that's why it's important to ensure that the entire family is up to date on recommended vaccines. I know this from my experience. When kids get sick and have to stay home from school, one, if you have more than one child, it's unlikely that they're all getting sick at the same time. I know for me, it's one gets sick one week, the next week, and the next the week after that. So not only are the kids missing school, but then parents are having to figure out how to deal with that in their work schedules for all of those days missed. So our goal here is one, to keep our communities healthy and safe, but also keep kids in school, not disrupt the workforce, and really all of this can be impacted if we're not vaccinating. So heading into peak season, it's important that you ensure your family is fully up to date on their recommended vaccines. I know what I'll be doing this year is I will actually be going on walgreens.com and booking a family appointment so that we can all get our recommended vaccines at the same time.
Oh, that's great advice. That leads me to the last question. Can you tell us more about Walgreens' immunization business? In other words, what are the ways families can make sure they get their vaccines?
Yeah, it's a great question and really so important. What we do know is pharmacies are a convenient option for vaccination needs. We have options outside of work and school hours, so that's nights and weekends. And like I said, you can come in and get the whole family vaccinated at the same time. We've seen a significant shift over to the majority of vaccines, especially seasonal ones, being given in the pharmacy. So that's how we know it's the most convenient option and accessible option, and we want to be there for our patients. So we continue to really push to be that convenient and accessible place where you can get your flu shot and other recommended vaccines. Now, the nice thing is you can walk in anytime. Walk-ins are welcome. So whenever the pharmacy is open, you can walk in, talk to your pharmacist, ask the team member to sign you up for a vaccination at that moment. But we also have flexible appointment options available, like I said, nights and weekends. And it's really easy, again, to walk in. But if you want to get ahead of it, if you're organized and you want to schedule that, there are so many scheduling options. So you can do it through our website, through our app. You can call 1-800-Walgreens. And my favorite one that's new this year is you actually can just text the word flu to 66879 and you'll get a text message and you can actually schedule right then and there. So as always, our Walgreens pharmacists are available to counsel and provide guidance on what may be the best for each individual patient based on their personal health needs and the latest recommendations, or answer any questions they may have.
Oh, that's great news. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. It's such an important issue. We hope you'll come back next year as well to share more updates.
Of course, thank you so much for having me today.
My pleasure.